Welcome, financial professionals. I'm Shane Van Patten, Regional Vice President at E4 Insurance Services, welcoming you to the Brew, building relationships every week. Thanks for tuning in. For those of you joining the Brew for the first time, welcome. We like to start the Brewcast by celebrating today's national days. Today is National Happy Hour Day. It is also National Pizza with the Works Except Anchovies Day. That is interesting. Today, we'll be continuing our November lineup focusing on long-term care planning. I'm joined by Bill Comfort, owner of Comfort Long-Term Care in North Carolina. Bill is a LTC specialist and the director for CLTC's training and development. And Kelly Augspurger, owner of Steadfast Insurance in Ohio. Kelly is also an LTC specialist and an instructor for CLTC. Today, we're going to discuss how the CLTC designation has significantly enhanced our careers and opened up new opportunities for each of us. So with that, welcome. This wasn't on the list, but first question is, how do we feel about anchovies? Let's go around the room and ask that. I mean, I think the anchovies are probably happy, but the fact that, has anybody ever had anchovies on pizza?
I have. Shane, it's not my favorite.
I don't think I have, Shane. I don't think I have.
I don't think I have either. All right, so we're all okay with pizza with the works except anchovies day. So maybe later today we'll all have happy hour and enjoy some pizza. I want to go around a little bit. I think we're going to do this a little round robin style and kind of talk about each of our backgrounds a little bit, and more importantly, how we each got into long-term care planning. Bill, I'm going to start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into long-term care planning?
Yeah, I got into the insurance business in 1991. I was 29, 30 years old, second career. My dad was in the insurance business, and it was time for me to make a change. So like many people, I started, with a mutual company, did the basic training of learning the life insurance business and everything that goes along with it. My dad had a practice with two other partners, one man who was older in the practice. And about a year or two into my career, I was developing a very strong interest in and specialty in disability insurance. It was probably 92 or 93. And the senior partner in the practice said to me, "Hey, my clients are asking me about this long-term care insurance." And he said something very interesting that's really stuck with me. He said, "It's basically disability insurance. You're becoming our disability specialist." And he handed me a stack of specimens and brochures about 2 inches thick. And he said, "Why don't you study these and, figure out which are the best policies, and we'll do some joint work together." So I sold my first long-term care policy, I think it was late 92, 1993. And like most people who are selling life insurance and disability and other things, I sold a few a year, but it kept pulling at me through the 1990s. I also realized over the first 10 years of my career that I'm really wired personally better as a specialist than a generalist doing everything, including employee benefits, which our practice did a lot of. So in 2000, I made a decision to focus exclusively on long-term care insurance. And that's what I've done for the last 25 years. Extended care planning, as we refer to it broadly in CLTC, and then long-term care insurance as a funding vehicle. So that's kind of been my narrow focus professional life since then.
Bill, I want to go back before 1991. Can you share with everybody what you did before then?
Well, it might be apparent from the 3-point lighting setup with the backlight here in my office, but I have a broadcast journalism degree. I was a working journalist for 10 years. I was on local TV in Kansas, and then worked as a documentary producer and director at the Wichita State University, and was even an adjunct professor of journalism for a couple years there. So yeah, my first career was in media. long time ago.
Perfect. All right, Miss Kelly, I'm going to turn the tables over to you. How long have you been in the industry? Tell us a little bit about your background, but specifically how the kind of long-term care planning light bulb went off for you.
Sure. Well, 2019 is when I joined the insurance industry, and I was also a career changer in my mid 30s. And my husband and I, in 2019, decided to start an independent insurance agency. He had already been in the insurance industry for quite a few years on the PNC side. And when he came to me with the idea, I'm like, "Yeah, go do it. You've got this. We're not getting any younger." And he's like, "Well, I need some help. Can you help me with this?" And I'm like, "I don't want to do home and auto. That sounds awful." And he's like, "Well, you don't have to do it. What about life insurance? People generally need at least some term life insurance, and they're also, we could, kind of share clients and build the business together." And so that's really how I entered the insurance industry, was starting to sell life insurance, Shane. And I did that actually for only about 6 months until I learned that long-term care insurance even existed. I never even heard about long-term care insurance until late 2019, right? So that's 6 years ago. And so it's been an epic journey since then. I had a conversation with a friend and mentor of mine who had just turned 60. And she said, we're at lunch, and she said, "Kelly, going to church, and we're doing this Financial Peace University, and Dave Ramsey said that we need long-term care insurance, and now is the time to do it." And I laugh about that now because, there are things that I agree and disagree with about Dave Ramsey. One of the things is, do it at 60. No, don't do it at 60. Do it earlier. But that was really a catapult for me, learning, hey, there's actually a solution to be able to pay for extended care. I had no idea. And I have a lot of family experience, personal experience with extended care in my family. I was a caregiver unexpectedly in my 20s to my grandma. And so this was a real light bulb moment for me, like, wow, there's actually something available that can help families and protect their, financial plans at the same time. I need to know more. So I did a very deep dive in the deep end of the pool, and, I wanted to learn as much as I could. And so I reached out to my BGA to try to get every piece of material I could on long-term care insurance and about the different carriers and products and how it worked. I wanted to learn everything I could.
Sure.
And I also, early 2020, I was on LinkedIn, and I was like, you know what? If I want to learn more, I need to find the experts. I need to know what they did, how they did it.
Let's hold that thought, because that's going to be
Okay.
another question I'm going to go into, but I like where you're going. And
Okay. Yeah.
I'm reminded again that you've only been in the industry since 2019, which is incredible because, when I look at people that I think that are thought leaders in this long-term care planning, your name is absolutely there. It's just incredible. And I think it's also, important for anybody who's watching this. At some point, all three of us, none of us were experts. None of us even knew what insurance was. Prior to 2019, you didn't know anything about long-term care planning. And within a short 5-6 year period, you're now considered one of the, thought leaders in this type of industry. That's incredible. So that's pretty amazing. My background, I think both of you know this, but I'll share it real quick. I've been in the industry since 2005. So it's 20 years-ish that I've been doing this. For the first probably 10 years, I was really focusing on life insurance and annuities. We had access and offered disability insurance and long-term care insurance, but like most financial advisors, it was probably the area that I felt most uncomfortable with. What were those two types of insurance? Why? I don't know. But like a lot of people that get passionate in something, I had personal experience. So both of my parents in their 60s required long-term care. My mom was diagnosed with dementia, I think at age 60. My dad, who was the perceived healthy one, he was home helping her for about 5 of the 11 years. But then he actually got sick. You hear these stories about caregivers who are healthy, and by the time they're done caregiving, I think he was just, physically, emotionally, destroyed. You talk about people who die of broken hearts. So he needed long-term care for about 9 months. He actually died at age 68, and he predeceased my mom, and she passed away at age 71. And it was kind of that moment for me that I'm like, hey, this is pretty important. I saw 40 years of savings spent down in 3.5 years. At the time, I thought, how is this even mathematically possible? And that's kind of where, I said, hey, I really got to look at long-term care. So I'm going to go back to you, Bill. You got your background, you're specializing in long-term care. Let's talk specifically about the certification for long-term care. I'm going to refer to it as CLTC going forward here. But how did you get introduced to the CLTC designation? And what motivated you to complete it, and really not just get the designation, but become the actual director of training and development and things like that?
Yeah. So the mid 1990s was kind of, Kelly, like you in 5-6 years ago, I was consuming everything I could about long-term care. I realized it was a new field, growing field. It intrigued me. It appealed to my specialist personality that I was just learning about. So I was going to every meeting that I could, every CE event, reading everything that I could. And I was invited by a insurance company brokerage rep to attend, I was probably 1996, to attend a satellite presentation, right? Back when, if it was going to be a live presentation to a group, it was via satellite. It was this big deal. It was Harley Gordon, one of the founders of the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys, talking about Medicaid and why advanced planning for long-term care insurance was so important. It just carried a lot of weight for me at that time. And then when I heard about this new designation that he created in 1999, I was drawn to that. I was getting ready to specialize. And I took the course, I want to say in 2001, early 2001 maybe, and just everything clicked. So, I was raised as an insurance agent, life, disability primarily, but I was raised into the business and mentored into the business to take a planning approach. What is important to you? How do you protect it? Life insurance isn't for the person who dies, it's for those who live. And having the CLTC program, even the first version of the course, pick up on that and carry it into long-term care really changed my perspective. I've made all the mistakes. I've used all the sort of old, ineffective language and statistics and everything. And the CLTC program pulled on that core planning first focus related to life insurance, particularly, that I'd been taught and that I'd spent 10 years practicing, really. And that really jump-started my long-term care focused career. I think it helped me make the decision to leave behind a big practice and a partnership to go out and start a long-term care agency on my own in 2000. And then I got to know Harley personally. And as the course grew, he was adding instructors. He couldn't teach to meet the demand. And so I taught the CLTC Masterclass for the first time in 2002. And I've taught the course ever since then. And I don't know exactly when it was, probably 10 years ago or so, I took on the role as the director of training to help mentor, train, and recruit to our instructors team, which includes Shane, you, and Kelly as well, and in different roles. So,
Sure.
But it's still informing me today. I mean, even as I'm teaching the course, I still draw on the fundamentals of the course every time I meet with clients.
Bill, I probably should have started with this question, but if you had to just give a quick overview, what would you say the CLTC designation, what is it? And what are you going to learn in there?
Yeah, it's a deep dive into the details, the complex details of all the facets that go into understanding extended care, long-term care planning. it's real. It of course it discusses long-term care insurance and how does it work and what are the different types of policies and the definitions surrounding it. But that's really kind of the last third of the course in terms of time that students spend in it. It's really a planning course. How do you confidently, effectively engage clients in a planning conversation about care? It's not an insurance focused course. It's a planning focused course.
100% agree.
And especially how do you engage people who don't want to talk about it? By the way, who does, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But who need to talk about it. So it's not only how do you engage people in what care is, how and when it starts, but what about Medicare? What about Medicaid? What about the VA? What about self-funding? And what it does for professionals is it provides a deep competency in these subjects and sort of allied areas of understanding, VA, Medicaid, Medicare, for example, to give the professional advisor the confidence to address this subject with their clients that they need to do. How'd I do, Kelly?
Perfect.
I thought it was
Nailed
fantastic.
Nailed
to me, again, it's that confidence.
All the
word.
buzzwords, Bill. That's all the buzzwords I'm thinking about. Yep.
That's perfect. Kelly, I'm gonna turn to you now. So I've seen in my career a lot of people who get designations, especially the CLTC designation. They kind of go one of two ways. One, they update their tagline on their email because they're so excited to put the designation, the letters after their name. They get their updated business cards and they leave it at that. There's other people that an absolute torch is lit and they start taking the industry and wanting to make changes and change the world. I'm going to say that is you, because when I first met you, I'm like, oh my gosh, this person just got their CLTC designation and she is like a sponge trying to soak up as much information and really change an industry and change a world. So I'm going to ask you the same question. How did you find out about the CLTC designation and why did you choose to get it?
So when I learned about long-term care insurance, and this is something that I want to learn more about, and I was doing my deep dive, I just started looking on the internet, like, okay, how can I learn more? Where do I go to get, I think, the information that I'm going to need in order to be an expert and to be a specialist? And so as I'm doing my research, CLTC keeps popping up. And so, I read reviews, I looked online. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a good place to start. And so I took my master class. I did it online. I did the e-version because I just wanted to, get through it at my pace. And I did it very quickly because I'm like, I want this and I want to get going. So I did that. And that was, I think, January of 2020, Shane. So this was just a few months after I'd had that conversation with my friend. She told me about this solution and I was like, okay, yep, I'm going for it. I'm going to do it. And then I think just shortly after that, I think I reached out to Bill on LinkedIn. And, I was looking for other specialists that had the CLTC and that had the expertise and the experience. And I wanted to learn as much as I could. Like, what have you done? What have you done well? What mistakes have you made? What would you do differently? What do you like about the industry? What don't you like? And so Bill and I had a really long conversation. He was so gracious with me on Zoom. And I think this might have been it was like right around COVID, Bill. I think it was like maybe right before, right after. And so we Zoomed and I think we had like a half hour scheduled. And I'm pretty sure we talked for an hour and a half or 2 hours. Like he was so gracious with me. And I was so appreciative because again, I'm this newbie. I'm just trying to learn as much as I can. So I talked to Bill. I talked to several other specialists that were in the field. Again, all through LinkedIn, like I'm trying to find people that are doing this and I think that are probably doing it well. And so I just learned as much as I could and it just reaffirmed to me, okay, yes, CLTC, that was the great first step. That's exactly what I needed. And what I was looking for was competence and confidence, both those two words right there. I didn't know what I didn't know. And so I wanted to learn, what am I missing? What is really important? And that planning perspective is huge. That's exactly what the CLTC designation does, is it has this planning approach, and it gives you that competence and confidence to have conversations with clients and other financial professionals too, if you want to partner with them, so that you can really effectively have those conversations and serve your clients well and do the right thing. And that's what I really wanted to do. And so I knew, as soon as I completed that CLTC, okay, this is fantastic. Obviously, that wasn't the end of my learning journey, but for me, it was, okay, I feel more confident now that I can start talking to people, and I know what I'm talking about to a certain extent, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
16 hours of education to break things down into
Yeah.
short, simple, easy conversations, but all the information that you learn absolutely provides you the confidence if they want to go deeper or ask more questions.
And Shane, I think it's really, just to sort of pull on a couple threads here, I think it's important for your audience to understand the CLTC program, particularly the master class, 16 hours, of time plus some self-study and review and the exam. It is not designed to make an advisor a long-term care specialist who knows everything about everything. I mean, that comes with time and experience. It is
Agreed.
designed to give financial advisors and agents the ability to effectively start and manage an extended care planning conversation that, in many cases ought to lead to a discussion of long-term care insurance.
Exactly.
That's perfect. Again, since round robin, I I found out about the CLTC designation. It would have been December of 2016. So it was just after my father passed away. Um, I remember at that time I was kind of still, my mother was still there, but at that point she couldn't communicate and things of that nature. But in working with their financial advisor, I just remember he said, I wish I would have talked to your parents about long-term care. And at that time, it just really hit me. I'm just like, oh, would that have helped? Again, when you're a caregiver and you're going through this, you're not thinking of those types of things necessarily at the time. But uh, Deb Newman. So Deb Newman, who is the founder of Newman Long-Term Care, very well known in the industry, still is today. Uh, Deb called me up and she said, Shane, I've been thinking about you, and I really think you ought to. We're holding an LTC masterclass for the CLTC designation. I think you would be a great candidate to come over and take it. And this was in person, so it wasn't COVID, Kelly. I actually took 2 days off of work and went over to Deb's office, and there I got to meet a guy named Bill Comfort. So background a little bit, I've heard Harley Gordon around the country talk about the CLTC. Harley does a fantastic job. But some of the things were a little East Coast for me growing up in North Dakota and now living in Minnesota, that I was like, I just can't see myself saying it that way. But when I met Bill and we went through that 2-day course, I mean, I truly looked at it and I'm like, hey, I can do that. And for some reason, the information just started really connecting with me. And I'm like, all right, I can do this. And I've been supporting financial advisors, like I said, at that point, 11 years, now 20 years. And I knew I could help coach them to have these types of conversations as well. There's a weight lifted off, I think, for financial advisors when you're not out there trying to push a product, but instead you're trying to have a planning conversation about truly probably one of the biggest monthly cash flow issues your client could experience in retirement. So at that point I got it, and kind of like Kelly, my torch was lit. I just wanted to know more. I think, Bill, I asked you probably, good 30 minutes of questions in person. I'm like, how do I do more? How are you, engaging advisors and clients to change their behavior and start having these planning conversations? So I'm going to start with the next question. The next question is, how's the CLTC, enhanced your career, right? So I'm going to start with this one because I'm just going, but I truly found for the cost of what that CLTC designation was and the information I got was the best return on investment that I've had my whole career. It not only changed the way that I have long-term care planning conversations with clients. I think the information I learned in there just changed the way that I have planning conversations with people, with clients, with advisors, whether it's life insurance, long-term care insurance, disability insurance, doesn't matter. So I'm going to start there. I'm going to go back to you, Bill. How was obtaining this designation, being active in the long-term care planning space, how has this enhanced your career? What doors have opened up because of it?
Well, I was blessed with the opportunity to have Harley invite me to join the instructor team, 23 years ago. And, teaching the course, I have to stay up on the material. But when I'm meeting with clients, even today, I am still drawing on, still using the basic concepts, what we call the CLTC, planning process, engagement process with clients. And it's just foundational to me, and has remained foundational to me. And things like when I read about Medicare Advantage, good news, bad news, or I read about Medicaid and what the changes might be, I'm using that foundation of information from CLTC to help me understand it, to help me interpret, new developments and things related to aging, extended care planning, and particularly how do you fund the cost of care. As you know, very, very few people have ever said, oh, hey, what's the CLTC designation? Like clients. Occasionally an advisor will. But again, there's that competency and that confidence to be able to engage with other professionals, and really especially with clients, in a regular, repeatable, proactive way to do, frankly, what the financial services industry has failed to do. And that's get us beyond 9% market penetration. CLTC is the tool that it allows advisors to have that proactive planning engagement, and to do it in a way, I think, and maybe this is the most important thing, the long-term care, extended care planning conversation and the CLTC training is not a separate silo of business engagement. It's integral to a life insurance, investment management, let's just call it financial planning process. The CLTC program pulls on the language and the way that advisors engage their clients already, and uses that same client-focused, consultative type of engagement to move the extended care planning process forward. And again, I draw on the training every day in my practice.
That's incredible. And I think I heard you say the word planning probably at least 12 times. And I think that's the most important part, though. I've heard you say this, Bill, so I'm going to say it again. I believe it. We truly don't have a product issue, right, in the industry.
Right.
We definitely have a planning issue in the industry, and the CLTC really helps coach you how to have that conversation in a way that's comfortable for both the financial professional and the client. So, Kelly, I'm going to ask you the same question. You got the designation. What doors have opened up? How has it enhanced your career, either supporting a financial advisor and their client, or just you professionally? And I know you have lots of speaking and podcasts and all sorts of fun stuff. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So on a day-to-day basis, Shane, I'll just echo what Bill said. I have the verbiage and the confidence to have those planning conversations. Without the CLTC training, I wouldn't know how to navigate that conversation well and effectively. I would probably stumble, and I would be sharing statistics, and I wouldn't take the approach that we really need to be taking, right? Which is really, let's start with the person. Let's start with the family. Let's talk about consequences. Yes, this affects income. Yes, this affects assets, but primarily this affects people. And we can't lose that human element of it. And that consultative approach is very much what was my goal. Like, I I want to be a consultant. I'm not a salesperson. Yes, we are in sales, but I don't want people to view me as just a person trying to sell them something. I want to engage with them, be their consultant, and offer expert recommendations and advice. And how do I do that if I don't take a planning approach and I'm just showing them a quote? That's not, helpful. It's not effective. So, primarily CLTC on a daily basis, when I'm meeting with clients and advisors, it gives me the competence that I need in order to do it well. So that, I think for me, that was the most important thing. I do also think it provides some credibility, having some letters at alphabet soup behind your name.
Right.
To clients, maybe it doesn't make it, it's not a big deal, but for financial professionals, they usually want to see some type of designation. And I knew that I wanted to partner with financial planners. And if I don't have the training, the designations, are they going to take me seriously? And again, I was still so new to the industry. So I don't have 10, 20, years behind me to showcase my expertise and my experience. So starting with that designation was what I needed to get the ball really rolling. So there's that component too, the credibility with other financial professionals. And then, open doors. Absolutely, it has. I mean, now I'm an instructor for CLTC. I started in 2022, actually January of 2022. So exactly 2 years after I got my designation, I was invited to join the team. Very humbled to do that. I thought, no, you've got the wrong person. Are you sure? I've only been doing this a couple of years. Are you sure you want me to teach these classes? But I'm very, very grateful for that opportunity. And then, just I think I heavily am on LinkedIn, and that's where I've been able to make a lot of connections. Like Shane, that's where we connected, right? Like we connected on both of us, all of us. I connected with both of you on LinkedIn. And so I've spent a good amount of time creating relationships, connections, but some of that has been through CLTC. Because I know other instructors and they've introduced me to people, or, I've dropped names like, hey, I know so-and-so. Do you know them too? Can we get together? So, having that community and that family really has been monumental in the progress that I've made over these last 5 years.
I love what you said there too, because I mean, the connection of other people who share the CLTC designation. Bill, I've asked you for help and guidance. Not only from 2016 was Bill my mentor of getting me through the master class and getting my designation. He's still been a mentor to me even today, and he's willing to offer his guidance and expertise. And Kelly, same thing. We've had all sorts of fireside chats and of good things.
And I will say, I can't tell you how much free CE Bill has given me over the last 5 years. I call him or shoot him, Bill, what do you think about this? Am I doing this right? What do you think? And just the feedback. So, and other CLTC instructors having just a really great relationship, but even outside of the instructors, just others in the CLTC community too. And I know we have all kinds of fantastic resources and communications and webinars. And I'm constantly learning and soaking in new things and meeting new people because of the CLTC community.
That's a great point. I mean, I'm doing life insurance, long-term care and disability and annuities. And for me, the CLTC really to be able to keep a pulse on what's happening in the industry is extremely important for me. Bill, sorry to cut you off.
No, that's fine. I'm kind of struck and it reminds me, whether I came to the CLTC program probably having been a student of long-term care insurance for 5 or 6 years. So this was back in the mid to late 1990s, but I had been studying it heavily, deeply, and we had HIPAA that was being debated and then passed in Congress in '96, and I dug deeply into that. But Kelly, you came to CLTC having just started to learn to spell LTC.
For sure. Absolutely.
And it brought you completely up to speed, or gave you all the tools very quickly to be up to speed. So I think what I just want to say, Shane, to your audience is, it doesn't matter where you are on the knowledge or confidence spectrum related to extended care planning or long-term care insurance. If you're kind of brand new to the subject, but this has to be a part of your practice, CLTC's for you. You're going to get a lot out of it. If you're very confident in selling long-term care insurance and engaging clients, I can also guarantee this is going to sharpen your sword. It's going to make you better. And so it's really designed for anyone and what you bring, your level of expertise or lack of it to the subject.
And let's expand that a little bit, Kelly. I'm going to ask you, what if I'm a financial advisor that, I don't really want to sit through 16 hours of education. I don't want to take a 100-question test. I really don't want the designation. However, I really, really want, the meat and potatoes of the information to be able to do better planning for my clients. Maybe I'm a fee-only advisor, right? I can't even do the insurance, but I want to be able to have better planning conversations with my clients.
Right.
What does CLTC offer?
Yeah, so it's not just the masterclass. Obviously, that's the designation. That's how you're going to get the CLTC. But if you don't want that, we have other options. So one of the classes we have is called Foundations, and it's a 4-hour course. We have, we mostly do virtual work with Foundations, and we might even have an e-version. I'm not sure if that's up and out, but the virtual option, it's basically a bare bones masterclass. So we talk high level about a lot of these things: Medicare, VA, Medicaid, long-term care insurance, but the majority of the time spent is about the conversation and setting the stage and taking that planning approach. But it is going to whet your appetite and give you enough verbiage and confidence and competence to be able to have those conversations without taking that deep dive and really getting into the nitty gritty. So we do have plenty of advisors, planners, financial pros that, come to the Foundations class that they want to know how to have the conversation and what do they need to consider in the LTC planning approach. Well, Foundations could be a good fit for them.
And Bill, I'm going to turn to you because I know there's some other courses that are definitely worth mentioning as well. I know there's the Product Insider course. I believe there's the Accelerator course. Can you talk a little bit about each of those?
Yeah, so the Product Insider course is a deep dive into long-term care insurance, the different types of products, the traditional standalone versus the wide variety of different hybrid or combo products that are out there. How are they structured? How do they work? What are the pros and cons of each? When and how might you use one product versus another? And so that's for somebody. I would not take that first. Again,
right.
The focus shouldn't be on product, but for those who really understand the engagement, but now want to take a deeper dive, even in many ways deeper than we get into in the CLTC Masterclass itself, that's Product Insider. And then the Accelerator program is really designed for people who have taken the Masterclass, and it's a multi-week coaching program led by one of our CLTC instructors that works with advisors to use the principles of CLTC, particularly the planning and client engagement principles, but putting it into very practical, step-by-step client engagement process, building the habit of client engagement. How do you identify clients that you ought to approach first? How do you segment clients, into different, not just who you would talk to or not talk to, but how might you approach them? And so I think the Accelerator, it's very high level coaching using the CLTC principles for engagement and planning. So there's a lot of different ways to work with this information. I think if somebody's looking for just a basic, I want to learn the language, I want to get better at opening the conversation, that's the foundation. And, then you can go from there.
So with all of that, it just makes me think you can really get shortcutted on, some people, it took 30 years to accumulate all this information over a short period of time. With the resources that CLTC has available, it's kind of a choose your own adventure book, and you can really go deep if you choose with a lot of the options.
But you can also get a very fast start. You don't have to have 10 years of experience
Right.
with extended care and long-term care to be successful. Kelly, you took to it, but even a financial advisor who just wants to more effectively incorporate this critical core component of retirement planning, the tools are there to do it within your practice, aligned with your practice and how you're already working with clients. And I think that's the great value of this material.
I will have to say, if Product Insider and Accelerator were available after I took my masterclass, I would have jumped on the opportunity. I would have jumped and said, okay, I want to learn everything I can about all the different products. I mean, I was doing my own research, right? And trying to get materials from carriers, but like having it in one class and then having that individual coaching, like that is huge. That's what I would have loved to have when I first started out. So
I agree 100%.
All the tools and resources are there. You just have to say yes and do it.
I think it took me probably a year to say, okay, I got all of this information. Now, how do I actually integrate it into my process and help coach advisors how to integrate it into their process? And again, I stumbled around and tried finding best practices. I would have loved to take that course as well and kind of shortcut myself. Are you both good on time? I just have a couple of questions here. I know you were both at the CLTC holds a summit each year. A lot of the industry thought leaders get together, collaborate. How can we do better, right? One of the things that I look at in my career, I've gone to every conference, and it's, guess how many baby boomers are turning 10,000, or I gave the answer right. Guess how many baby boomers are turning age 65 every single day, right? We've heard this for numerous years. And when I really look at the coming up here next year, the first baby boomers are going to start turning 80. The new question is going to be how many boomers are turning age 80 every single day? I'll give you each a chance, but why would you tell financial professionals now is the time to be learning as much about long-term care planning as you can? Kelly, did I say that question good? Like, is now a time that it's extremely important that you should be learning how to have these conversations and planning guidance better?
Shane, it's always important to have these conversations. So even though we are approaching, baby boomers are turning 80 and so many people are turning 65 every day, yes, we have more people doing that than probably ever before, but it was important 20 years ago. It's still important today. It's going to be important in 20 years. It's always important to have these longevity conversations with your clients because it's crucial for them to create a plan for extended care to best protect their family and their financial plan. And I think just those numbers of what we see, yes, that could maybe, if you're like a statistical person, you like numbers, maybe that does give you kind of the fire to like, oh gosh, I need to get on this then. I'm not like that. Like the numbers don't do it for me, right? For me, it's all about the family, the consequences. This is always important. So we need to do the right thing. And if you're not engaging your clients in these conversations, you're doing them a disservice. It's just that simple. You really are. You're not doing the right thing for your clients. And at the end of the day, if they choose not to buy long-term care insurance, that's their decision, right?
They still have a plan.
That's right. You, at the end of the day, they need a plan. You need to be their guide to navigate them through what decisions do they need to make. And hopefully, if they're health eligible, we can get some kind of coverage in place, usually a co-funding approach, right? We're not looking for long-term care insurance to cover everything, but if we can at least have it in the plan to be a buffer, that's really what we're looking to do. So I really don't think the only thing I can think of, Shane, where, okay, more people are aging is those who are in the younger generation. So maybe, in their 50s or even 40s, our parents are aging. And so I'm seeing this, right? We're seeing our parents, maybe they're starting to slow down and they're not in their go-go years anymore. And so what are our parents going to do? Are they going to rely on us? That's motivating for our generations to make sure our parents have a plan in place. And then when I see that, oh gosh, what about me? I need a plan. I'm in my 40s, but I still need a plan for care. And I just took out my long-term care insurance policy when I turned 40. So, I trying to get ahead of the curve and make sure that we're properly protected for the future. But now's the time. Don't wait.
It is a time. And I guess that's kind of was to my point. I mean, you have this huge, large population of people that not any of us but as an industry, we've probably failed them, right? They properly haven't planned for this type of event, and the insurance isn't the plan.
Yeah.
Right? As Bill says, it funds the plan, but
Right.
they haven't even had conversations about this type of event. And if you're a financial professional, you're going to see a lot of long-term care events happen, and the ones that haven't planned for it or haven't had conversations, it's going to be a bad experience, and that's going to trickle down to the children, to the grandchildren. You're going to get more people proactively coming to you, the financial professional, saying, I want my plan to be different. Can you help me? You're either going to be very comfortable in how you're going to guide that planning conversation, or you're not. And if you're not, CLTC is a great opportunity to hone those skills. So Bill, I'm going to kind of let you end it here. If a financial professional wants to look at the master class, the designation, any other classes that CLTC offers, where can they go to do that?
Yeah, I think the obvious first step is to go to the CLTC Corporation for Long-Term Care Certification website. It's fairly simple, LTC-CLTC.com, LTC-CLTC.com. You can read about each of the courses that we've mentioned. There's actually some great resources on there that are consumer focused that an advisor can read through, because those materials are also infused with, what we call the CLTC planning process that's there. So the website's the first place to engage, and I think I'll take the risk of speaking for all three of us. Find us on LinkedIn, send us a message, send me a message. I'd be glad to help you understand more about it and how this might be valuable for your practice as well. Kind of as Kelly said, reach out and find out how you can add knowledge and expertise so that you can help your clients be better prepared.
Oh, that's fantastic. I want to thank you both personally. I mean, this was fantastic. My goal was 20-ish minutes, and I knew for a fact it wasn't going to go 20 minutes. So you get the three of us. We were going to have a fire going. We decided not to, but I mean, you get the three of us together, and we could talk for hours about this. But that's what I like. I love getting together and sharing ideas, and I respect both of you in this industry so much. So I appreciate you taking time out of your days to help have this presentation today. So as we wrap up, I'd like to remind you that today's brew and our entire library shared on the brew page on our website, www.e4.insurance. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep up with all brewcasts. They are released every Wednesday. Next week, the brew will be released on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central. We will continue November's lineup on long-term care, where I will be joined by Tim O'Connell, the advanced sales at Lincoln Financial Group, to discuss how companies can offer a simple and effective outside-of-the-box strategy to retain and reward key employees. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next week on The Brew.
Thank you.